Hi, my
Hi.
name is my name is Liz McCleary. I'm with CBRE. I'm a past president of the Chicago chapter of Cornet Global. And on the other side of the computer from me today is Regina Stilp, a principal at Far Point Development. So Regina, thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. There's a lot happening in the world right now. And so all of the women past presidents of Cornet Global thought what better way to bring some inspiration than with some women leaders in the Chicagoland area. So we're calling it 15 Women, 15 Minutes. So it's quick. uh,
We have about 15 minutes, which is
we
great.
have 15, we're all busy, so we literally have 15 minutes within the schedule, and we want to laugh and be inspired, and maybe hear something exciting along the way. But especially right now, being able to do this online is pretty exciting and different for us. So thank you again for being here.
My pleasure.
So to kick things off, as the real estate icon and venture capitalist Barbara Corcoran once said, "My best successes came on the heels of failures." Let's talk a little bit about your career journey, how you got here. Were there any mentors or advocates along the way, or interesting roads that you traveled in order to get to where you are in your career today? Any stumbling blocks, lateral moves, anything that happened in your career to get here? We'd love to hear the story.
Yeah, well, listen, I always say I've gotten where I am because I've done everything wrong. Literally, there's always a decision to be made, and you can never make them 100% right. So that is, that's how you get your experiences, and you have to be willing to make mistakes. And I think that's when you learn the most from. So yes, I have done, I've been doing development now for 25 years, so there's just no way that you can't make mistakes. I'm going to apologize for the noise in the background because it's kind of a witching hour at my house. But there are mentors too that, and my mentors go way back. Both of my grandmothers were working women. My one grandmother cleaned schools at night. So she was a maid, and she would clean schools so that my mom and her sisters were able to go to school, which was kind of a crazy time, and that was in the late 40s, early 50s. So she always saw the value in education and learning. And my other grandmother was one of 15 children, and she was a designer, and she got married when she was 40 and had her first child at 42 because she understood. So she had a full career, and she was born in the 1890s. So, I mean, she was an older woman. So, they kind of set the table of that, it's your work is part of your identity. And it's not really, there's a job, but there's also a career, and your work should be your career, and it should be an extension of who you are. And so I think that's been instilled in me for a long time. I have two sisters. We have pretty successful careers. We all work full time and have all raised families. So I think it's been embedded for generations. And those are probably my greatest mentors. Obviously, I'm kind of a male dominated field. So I feel like, not that there's been no mentors where I am in my space, but I think kind of had to carve my way through it. And it's through, having the ability to make decisions, to stand by your decisions. They're not always right. They can never be always right. But I think that is, building on all of our experiences makes you who you are today. So I don't know if that answers it, but those are kind of some of my mentors are mostly family and personal, not many in the career. But I feel like one of the greatest things is to, as far as mentorship goes, I always feel that women should always mentor other women, but I think it's just as important for women to mentor men or boys, whatever you want to call it, because I think it's just as important for men to model their behavior after female bosses, and to understand that they're competent, capable, and great bosses as well. So I think it's really, really important that we don't mentor in silos, that we look at it holistically, and that half the population is men, half of them are women. We should not focus on one. You don't want to, exclusion's never good. So let's make this a concerted effort to model behavior that is that we're bringing up both this next generation of men and women.
Yeah, it's a great point. I heard a quote the other day about how leadership skills from, playing football and leadership skills from raising a family are both things that everybody should understand.
Yeah.
And, there's leadership that can come from anywhere. So I totally agree with you on that, the inclusion of sort of all of these different skills that we can bring to the next generation is great. So it's
Really
very
important.
well put.
Yeah.
Which is a good segue about advice, and advice that you would give to somebody who's maybe at the dawn of their career, the very beginning, somebody who's maybe midway through their career, and any advice that you would have for somebody that is in a leadership position or maybe, 25 years, 30 years into their career, especially right now, going into, maybe the recovery of a recession right now, but.
Right. Well, yeah, this just starting out is tough,
Yeah.
but I think one of the things that you have to do is starting out is you got to be able to, it could be an ego crusher, but start at the bottom. I started out in development doing accounts payables and receivable. If we didn't get the rents in, we couldn't pay the mortgage. It was very, very simple stuff. And I think that you can have no ego when it comes to that. You really need to be able to do the work and do any job. And we're all kind of scrappy right now. We're all trying to make ends meet, and even we're in a small company too, so everybody's got to pitch in. And so what we're really looking at for is someone, when you're starting out, bring something to the table, and whether it's your ability to, I don't know, we used to climb up on roofs to get stuff done, being able to solve problems and issues, I think is really important. And to show that you're a team player really helps in this market right now. So that's, I think if you're just starting out, just say yes, and I can do that, and don't second guess yourself. And I think that's really important, to be eager and ready, willing, and able. Those are the people that we're trying to hire. And a little bit further down the line, I think that my advice to someone who's a couple of years into their career, 5, 7 years, 10 years, is to know your worth. Because once you have experience, you are so valuable. We're too small now to hire people that only have a couple of years experience. But once you have experience, once you've got well-rounded experience, know your worth. And I think a lot of women, myself included, sell themselves short. And it's, the typical, everyone, the lean in. I mean, not to play into that, but really know what you are worth, and you can get your value elsewhere, and then add 20% to it. Because regardless, women will sell themselves short. And and you get left behind if we have to have kids, we have to have the family. So there is a balance there. And in lieu of raises, I used to take an extra day off, so I'd go down to 4 days. And then I really got far behind in my career path until I was able to reset it. So I think I've talked to so many women who I have a salary up to here, and they come in and they cut themselves short. And I'm like, oh, you could have made more, So, but I have to make sure that I'm watching the bottom line as well. So I think that value is to know your worth, because you are worth a lot. If you have experience, it is so valuable. Because companies like me would hire you because I need your knowledge, I need your worth, and I'll pay for it as well. And to everybody else, and I've said this numerous times, own the silence. That's my dog. Own the silence. So when you're putting out for your salary, women, and I'm doing it now, fill the void. So there's an awkward silence, and most of people are presenting to mostly men, but there's plenty of women now too. But nobody likes silence. But put that awkwardness on the hirer. So this is my salary. I think I'm worth it. Have them respond, right? So you maintain a position of power, because I've seen so many people say a number and then they're like, but I'd be willing to take less. And don't just own the silence. Don't fidget. I always fidget, but just make sure that you maintain control in a negotiation. Then people that are later in life, decide what's important and make sure you do it. So I started my own company 4 years ago. I was at another company for 20 some years. We grew it. It was great. It became a large company, very successful, but I wasn't doing what I really enjoyed to do. I turned 50. I still had my kids. There's a certain point in your life when you hit your limit and you want to do what you want to do in your life. Not everybody has that ability, so I appreciate it. Sounds a little privileged, but I was able to refocus, I had a successful career and to really focus on things that I wanted to do. And it was going back to my roots, which was developing in neighborhoods and communities. And that was really, really important and to kind of affect the change that I wanted to see. And I was fortunate enough to have great partners and do a reset that really set us on a path to where we wanted to go and what was really important to us. Because again, full circle, this is, you know, you spend so much time at work. It shouldn't feel like work. It should be an extension of who you are. And if you ever get to the position in life that you can do that, you're really fortunate. And I'm very fortunate. I appreciate how fortunate I am.
That's great advice. I think we have found our new cornet mentor.
Call me.
Sorry, you just volunteered.
What else did we have on this thing?
So to that end, you know, as far as giving people advice and mentoring people, you know, I think it's tough right now because it's very easy to look at things in a glass half empty type of a way, being home. And, you know, for those of us that have little kids and have had to balance working and trying to take care of them at the same time, or people that are maybe lonely and by themselves right now, you know, when you're having a bad day, how do you keep looking glass half full instead of glass half empty? How do you rebound out of it?
Well, I think this has been one of those incredible resets, to be honest with you. And you know, everyone's wings were clipped, so you never had to feel that you were doing less than anyone. Everyone was in the same. It was a good reset, right? So it wasn't corner offices anymore. It wasn't top floor office. It wasn't, you know, everybody stuck in their living room. So and it forced you to be efficient with your time because you have kids. I have kids. I have 3 kids. And it forced you to focus on what's important. And you know, when I started out early in my career, when my kids were younger, your kids' ages, I had 3 kids in 3 years. So it was chaos, and you know, and I felt like I was doing everything half-assed. Like I could commit so much work, but then I also I didn't want to miss my kids' baseball games or whatever their play. So I really felt like I wasn't doing everything as well as I could. I was doing okay, but everything was not great. So you have to make this. What?
I said, I know the feeling.
Oh, I know you do. Yeah, no, believe me. And you just feel bad about yourself, but you shouldn't. So, but so one of these things with this, if I had younger kids, the reset for me would be that you can still do your job. Everybody understands because you're not that odd guy out with the kid anymore. Everybody's got it. So everybody's sharing the same stresses, the same pains, and it really levels the playing field. And for me, I have 2 kids in college, so to have them back was such a dream for me, and to have them stuck under my roof, which was great too. So that glass half full, I think the silver lining on this thing is that there's been a great reset and a leveling of the playing field because there's men, there's broadcasters, there's, you know, brokers, there's developers. We're all stuck in a living room, you know, and we're in an office or a kitchen, and we've been really, really efficient. But I think if anything, again, it's leveled this playing field, and everybody understands how hard everybody works. And what a balancing act it is. And I think one of the things that is coming out is appreciation for teachers, which I think is long overdue.
I would agree completely.
Yeah.
Well, we're running out of time, believe it or not. You and I could
Oh
probably.
my God, are we? Okay,
Well,
yeah. I could talk forever.
Me too. Maybe it was the problem that we were put together.
It's a good job. Okay.
The last question, quick, and this is a really quick one, would be the toughest question. Where is the first place that you will go, and maybe you've already gone on vacation once the borders open and you know you feel comfortable flying and all that good stuff? Where are you?
Well, oddly enough, I got stuck in Utah. I was in Park City for a long weekend, and then we just stayed, and my kids all came from college. So we were in for 10 weeks in Park City. So we had to drive back here. So I am actually so happy to be here because I think I'm the only person who hasn't been able to clean out their closets in COVID. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be the only one who has like a chaos in a house. You know, everyone else has had 10 weeks to clean it up. So I plan on staying here, and I love being in Chicago in the summer. So no plans to leave, and just hanging out here has been great, and being home has been a joy. So I'm staying put.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, we're pretty much out of time, but I wanted to end with a quote from a tennis great. I'm a former tennis player. So Serena Williams said, "The success of every woman should be the inspiration to another. We should raise each other up, make sure you're very courageous, be strong, be extremely kind, and above all, be humble. So I think that definitely describes you. And I really appreciate you being here with me and agreeing to do this sort of groundbreaking 15 women, 15 minutes interview. We really appreciate it. So
My pleasure. We have more time to talk. We'll have coffee when we can have coffee.
absolutely. Thank you so
All right.
much.
My pleasure.